Hello, everyone. This is Master Viktor Neustroyev, and today we are going to have a workshop which is devoted to tactics. The topic of the workshop is blocking combinations, and instead of just finding tactical combinations, I also would like you to learn some strategy. So, for example, which actions should you take when you see that your opponent plays passively, especially if his pieces are crowded and they are surrounding his own king, and how you can take advantage of it. Okay, fine. So please let me know if everything works perfectly well. The sound should be good. We have a chat here. However, if you want to say anything, you can unmute your microphone and just ask a question or answer my questions that I'm going to ask. Okay, perfect. So I hope more people gonna join. That's why what? Let's wait. Let's wait for a couple minutes. And while we are waiting, let me just generally tell the main point. Okay. So when you, oh, okay, so what you should understand is that these tactical combinations or based on the blockade. So usually happen when the pieces are crowded and the king is blocked and doesn't have many squares to move to. And what you should do to create a combination, you can already initiate a tactical strike. For example, you can sacrifice a piece, you can create a pin and then add pressure on this pin. Sometimes it's even a double pin. You can also create a discovered attack or attract the enemy king or another enemy piece to the square that you need. And well, probably the most popular example of a blockading combination is a smothered mate, when the king is trapped in the corner and you deliver checkmate with your knight. Okay, so first of all, how to identify that in the position there can be such a combination? You look at the king, and if the king doesn't have many squares, then you probably can take advantage of that. Also, if you see that enemy pieces cannot defend their king's position in time. And you also see that uh, there are potentially open files, ranks, and diagonals that you can take advantage of, you can dominate, and these give you a hint. Okay, now just very important inside that I want you to remember. If you don't see a combination, if you don't see an immediate win, but you see that your opponent just got his pieces crowded, they are passive, he is not threatening anything, what you can try to do is just work on improvement of your pieces. Sooner or later, there will be a tactical decision. Your task is just to find it. But if you don't see it now, it doesn't mean that you should do it anyway or do a sacrifice and then hope that you win. Just improve your pieces. Occupy files or diagonals that are going to be open potentially. If you see that the enemy king is vulnerable, move your pieces there. If, for example, you see you can use your h pawn to attack the enemy king's position, play h4, play h5 after that, force the knight to go to h8, for example. Well, in this position, actually, h5 isn't a good move. Okay, let's start with this concrete position. It's white to move. What would you play? At the moment, there is no combination. It seems that the black king is well protected, but what comes to your mind? What you can do?
I think that G3 would be a good move to take space from the knight and then to try to advance the H pawn after that.
G3 is very logical. Yes, I agree. So g3. So what, for example? I don't think they can play h5 because even if you just simply move the knight, you can just win this pawn and attack the knight. So yeah, well, it's a strong move for sure. Not the strongest one, but one of them. Okay, here Georgios suggests h5, but I actually am not a big fan of h5. Why? Because after knight f4, so here Georgios suggests to take, and I think that we should capture, but then this knight gets the e5 square. Yes, you can play knight d4, but they can go there too. And then you are limited. For example, you cannot bring the queen there. So maybe knight e6 still. Okay, rook f7 for a while. Then this move, but they play this move. I still believe, oh, you can take on e4. I still believe that they are in a trouble. Yeah, black is in a trouble anyway. Okay, fine. So let me see. Actually, knight d4, knight e6 works. Maybe they can defend this with something else. I wonder if this works, but then the rook is trapped. Maybe they try g6 first, trying to drive the knight away. Well, it's so suspicious. After this move, I think you can just take once and play queen g4, threatening g6. Yes, it's so risky. Okay, fine. Actually, you don't have to take. You'd better play queen g4 right away because how they defend it? Because they have this move and they protect there. Okay. Okay, I didn't see it. Well, okay, fine. Yeah, maybe g6 is a good move, but it seems that every move they can play is losing here. Fine. So in the game it was played knight h2, and in my position this move is better because this move contains a clear idea, clear tactical idea. So white is trying to improve pieces. You may ask me why knight h2? Does the knight go to g4? Well, maybe, but that's not the main idea of knight h2 move. What do you think? With what idea behind knight h2 was played? Right. So with the idea of queen g4, which allows us to threaten h5 and then checkmate on g7 or knight h6, a discovered attack. What they could do. In the game here, black decided to play knight h4. That was a blunder. Well, maybe it actually wasn't the best move. Knight h4, then knight takes knight, and they are pieced down. So in four moves, they resigned. But let's try to find a better defense and realize how it works. So what I think, if knight h6 is coming with a check, probably it does make sense to continue with king h8. What's your idea? So how do you take advantage of the king being on the edge of the board? g7 is still vulnerable. Okay, so I'm waiting for your suggestions. Uh, okay, so h5 and queen g4 and h5. Queen g4 and okay. If we try h5 right away, they move their knight to f4.
I still like G3.
G3 in this position.
No, no, before
Before
before the
g3 and
attack.
then h5. So maybe you can even do it. Actually, if you don't see a combination here, then g3 makes a lot of sense because h5 is a trap of this knight.
Yes, exactly.
So this is how you step by step improve your position. This is what I was telling in the very beginning. So if you don't see how to win immediately, step by step improve your position, try to improve your pieces. Right now, for example, we just prevent knight f4 move with g3. Okay, yes, it's a winning move. Okay, there is also another idea of this move. Then knight f4, and in this position, the queen move to g4.
Mhm.
How does it work? So maybe g5 works in this case. What's your opinion? Well, okay. So yeah, g5 seems to work because if h takes, it's knight takes g6. But maybe first you'd better take with a bishop and then play queen g4. And if let's say how they can continue? Ah, they can continue with knight g5 actually. Yes, you can win a pawn, but it seems that we could get more than a pawn just. So the other idea is to play queen g4 first and then h5. Yes, I think it makes definitely more sense to start with queen to start with queen to g4. And what then? How they should defend? Because h5 becomes a threat. Okay, Georgi suggests rook g8, then also suggested rook g8. Okay, so h5 becomes a threat. Let's see if there is anything else that can defend against this threat. Well, knight h6 is obviously a blunder. If knight h6 is played, then it's knight takes knight. The queens are retaking each other. So let's say knight h6, knight takes knight, queen takes g4, and the knight from h6 takes on g4. So extra piece. Rook g8. Yeah, rook g8 can be a defense. And if rook g8 is played, then what do you think? Can you come up with a winning tactical combination? The king is in the corner.
Yes, I think if we put the knight on h6,
Yeah.
um, we are threatening with mate and at the same time attacking the queen.
Right. So it's a double threat. And there is no such a move that could help to defend everything. For example, 95. So, well, if they take there, this is checkmate. If they take our knight, they lose their queen. And that's it. So in case of king h8, the game would continue that way. Well, maybe king h8 was a wrong move. Let's try something else. For example, bishop d8, trying to connect the queen to the g7. Then queen g4 anyway, and now knight h6 is already a threat, and h5 still is a threat. There is no defense against it. So even such a slow move like knight h2 with the idea of queen g4 could allow us to win the game. Okay, knight h2, maybe queen c8 protecting the queen. Still, this move works, and this time there is no defense against h5. What can be done? Like a king move, still h5, and it's too late to defend g7. A knight move there, yes, but bishop takes on h6, and then h5. Nothing can be done. Okay, in the game it was this, and the game ended soon, so I don't really understand the purpose of f5 move, but they definitely needed more space. Maybe the idea was to take there, but they didn't take. Queen takes f5, and after queen g4, so white is easily winning. Okay, just a quick summary of this combination. Here, white realized that the king is in a trouble. The pieces are crowded around this king, and that's why there can be an attack on such a king. There can be an attack on g7, bringing with the queen on g4 and h5, and potentially there can be a smothered mate. Moreover, once the queen reaches g4, there is a discovered attack with knight h6. And in order to prepare these combinations, knight h2 was played. And then there is no defense against queen g4. For example, king h8, queen g4, and there are two threats, h5 and still knight h6. For example, if rook g8, then it's knight h6, and if queen takes queen, knight f7 is a very nice smothered mate. If not, if they take our knight, then we take their queen, and that's it. If they play something else, for example, instead of the king move, they play bishop d8. Then this is still a threat with knight h6. And even if they find how to protect the queen, h5 and queen g7 is coming. At least we win this knight on g6. So that was a result of the fact that black pieces were crowded around their king. Let's continue with the next example. So, okay, so which exact tips you are asking me about? I didn't analyze your game, so I don't know what you should work on and what time control you're going to play. Okay, how to make a middle game plan. At the moment, I mean, we are in the middle of the cycle of group lessons where we exactly study how to plan, how to come up with a plan. Okay, so it's a rapid time control. For rapid time control, I would say you should be very familiar with the openings you play, and you should understand middle game plans. In order to learn them, look at GM's games in this opening that you play. Just look at what they play. This is Najdorf. Yes, I think so. It was Najdorf. So this is a normal Sicilian position. But uh, just at the very next move, White started playing awkwardly. They voluntarily paralyzed their own pieces. And that allowed Black to win. So if you were White, actually, which move would you play here? What, in your opinion, looks logical? Of course, knight d5 looks logical. Yes, I agree. Knight d5, pawn takes d5, knight b8, then knight goes that way. f5, knight f6, it's very, very common. So the knight doesn't go to a5 because from a5, the knight doesn't have any squares. So c4 here, let's say. Okay, well, but what did white do? They played knight b1. A bit passive. They wanted knight d2, which again is a big secret for me. Why? Well, the next move that Mark Taimanov played was queen e8. Why queen e8? To add more pressure on e4. Moving the knight allows almost to win a pawn on e4. Knight bd2, defending it. Knight d8, the knight goes to e6. That makes the bishop open. The knight is better placed, and the c file is available to attack c2. So bishop d3, knight e6, rook c1, rook f c8. Black almost ideally plays their pieces, and now they are ready to invade the enemy camp. So it seems that some immediate actions should be taken by white immediately. Maybe they should already start with c4, try to initiate exchanges, and get the control over the d5 square. But again, they played passive moves like that. So your opponent plays passively. There is no tactics. Just step by step, improve your position, exactly like Mark Taimanov did in this game. Knight goes to d7. Why the knight goes to d7? Because then this knight goes to c5. So knight f1, knight dc5, knight g3. Okay, so one knight on g3, the other knight maybe goes there. But if he goes there, then e4 becomes vulnerable. Okay, maybe the knight wanted to go there, and to prevent it, black continues with g6. What's your opinion? How white should continue here? Okay, so queen g4 is a move, c4 is a move, bishop g5 is a move for black. Maybe queen f3. B4 also. Okay, let's study them. So queen g4 looks interesting, but maybe very ambitious. So first of all, b4 probably not, because knight a4, bishop moves, and we can always play this move. But before doing that move, I would suggest doing this. Why I didn't play knight a3? Because I can do it at any other moment. And then the bishop has to take. Otherwise, it's a bad bishop, or even the queen can be trapped. So black seems to be much better here. So b4 is not a candidate move. What else? Well, c4 drops the bishop. I don't think it's a good idea. You also may lose a rook. In that position, knight h5. I don't think you have enough defenders. So then what? Rook a3, rook g3? I think it's too late. Uh-huh. Think it's too late. Well, how can I continue? Let me play this move. The queen is hanging, queen h6. So even if you play this move, it's not sufficient. How to continue? Oh, actually, I want to play this move and set my bishop there. This is how I'm really well defended. And even if you do rook e3 and rook g3, you still cannot win. I would love to bring the queen back, but right now it's not possible. The black pieces are far away, but which of your pieces can attack? If the knight comes, I just take there.
No. What about knight to what is it? F4.
Well, but queen h6? Then you
Uh,
can play knight g6 maybe.
n-
Yeah, looks like a plan. Why not? But I want to bring more pieces to the place of action, so to the king side. So maybe the other rook goes. Okay, so which move to play for black in this position?
Excuse me, there's also a threat that the knight will eventually take the bishop on
d3.
d4, no, d3, sorry. And then
This is
uh,
hanging.
it's well, the rook has to move away. Ah, this is hanging. Okay.
With checkmate. So that's why I think knight g6, but maybe you don't have to spend this tempi. It's still good. Knight g6 is still good, but maybe you have a better way to play.
Hmm.
So let me see. Yeah, the pieces are a
F6,
bit far.
F6 and
f6.
everything is defended.
F6,
You
F6.
hang the knight potentially. So queen g4, let's say, then you have to play what? King f7, but
No, no. Why King F7? F6, then Rook E8.
e8. So, but and then queen c8. Actually, maybe yeah. So this rook e8 and then queen c8 and then with knight
Yes,
g5 you can trade pieces.
exactly.
Yeah, that may work. Yeah, but just let me give me a sec. Maybe I'll find something. Oh, let's start with this move, and then I want to take on e4. I think the bishop has to take. Then I take there. This is still not a move. I just take on d3, for example. Then knight g5. No, then knight g5. No, if this move, then I think I should do like that. This is enough to defend h7. And if knight g5,
You
it's...
can take you can take the bishop at D3 after knight F6, knight F3.
But then knight g5.
Then Rook takes Rook.
Queen f7. So I think you should first take there. Oh yeah, actually it works. And then you take rook on g3. Yes,
Yes,
it works.
yes, exactly. Now there is no more piece.
Yes.
Bishop
So
e5.
bishop f5 when? But there,
No, bishop e4 at the end, and then
yeah,
win on
bishop
c2.
f4 in the end. So this sacrifice doesn't work. Okay, there is rook f1. Well, yeah, but it seems to be very unsound. What else? So c4 wasn't a candidate move. Queen g4. Queen g4 was a nice idea, actually. I didn't check it out. Queen g4, then I can take on d3, can I? Does it make sense, actually?
Maybe it's better to move the bishop first from d3 to, let's say, e2, for example, before the queen
Oh,
move.
but this is then the position is too crowded and d4 becomes more vulnerable then.
Okay, yeah.
So,
But
well, uh-huh.
well, there's still defenders. The two knights are defending d4. No, I mean before you move the queen to the g file.
Bishop e2, and if I take
Okay, yeah. Um,
Bishop
yeah.
e2 even blocks the queen. It will
yeah,
not allow
bishop e2
queen to
blocks the
come.
queen. So you have to play then bishop f1 probably.
Just a moment. What about bishop f f3, for
Not
example?
not now. What for?
Not now. Okay, maybe you take first and then bishop f3. Yes.
Take, then you play bishop f3. Maybe you have bishop b5. It looks better than bishop f3 because bishop f3 I just moved
Okay.
the queen.
Yes.
Yes, it looks better, but still I don't think it's a good position. So let's say
Okay.
where queen h4, for example. Now the bishop is hanging. My next move is this, and then I take on c2. So you have to play bishop here.
No, but instead of queen h4, we can't take bishop into queen into c2.
What do
Sorry,
you
rook
mean?
into. Okay, no, just one
Queen is
move
hanging.
before. Okay, no, just one move. Okay.
No, I don't think we could. Now the queen is hanging. We cannot take with the queen on c2. So queen h4, and then bishop g5 and knight f4 is coming. So I think it's quite promising. But actually, I'm not forced to take, so I can just play just some random moves. What the bishop is doing there? The position is crowded. It's hopeless. So having the
Mhm.
bishop there and bringing the queen out makes more sense. But if the queen goes out, like it is in this position, so what can I do? Can I try this? Then I'm threatening to take there and at some point capture here.
Mhm.
So let's say rook goes that way. Maybe just this move. Threatening to take with two knights. So the bishop must move. I don't know, maybe knight e6 just threatening to take. Well, it's still a very tough position. h5 also becomes a threat after that. It's protected by the knight.
Mhm.
Yeah, so white is definitely better. So, well, white didn't understand what they are doing. So I think b4 was a possible move, and their position is not completely losing after knight a4. Knight f3. So giving up the exchange. Black pieces are too far. Okay. So Zamfir, let's check it out. Okay. So bishop g5, you said knight f3. I want to win exchange. In which way? I want to win exchange in that way, I think. Let me
Yeah.
see. Let me see. Maybe here first. Yeah, maybe here first. Then you have to take it. Let's say with a bishop. Then I take there. So this means it's game over. So maybe you'll sacrifice even more. The knight must take. Well, maybe not, but okay, let's say the knight takes. King h7. No, king h7, queen h4. Okay, I'm sure it's defendable.
Yeah, there are no real threats. I mean, maybe they can play knight f5, but just
This is
knight d4 here.
What's the purpose? I would like to keep the knight defending the position. Why knight d4? To take on c2. Now let's play something logical like rook e8, knight h5, queen d8. There is no bishop g5 move. There is no knight f6 move. Queen f3, I can play knight d4 with the tempo, so I'm in time. Actually, queen f3, I can also just take on h5 or play queen h4 first. So giving up sacrifice is not giving up the exchange isn't a good idea. So they play knight e2, but this move is bad too. Bishop g5 anyway, knight e3 and knight d4. So white is just maneuvering, trying to improve his pieces, but black improves his pieces in reality. So the bishop is better there. The knight is in the center. Black at the moment doesn't understand.
Can you please go back to the position which we were discussing when you put knight e2? Just for a minute.
Yeah, just a sec. So here, black is improving their position, even not understanding which tactical strike he may initiate. He just thinks, okay, so I can improve, and the tactical opportunity will appear in the future. Okay, so which position should I? Oh, even the
No,
five works.
the position which we were discussing. Yeah, just one more bit back. Before knight e2 and bishop g5. Yeah, here, because a lot of problem is coming because of the e pawn. Can I play f3?
Oh, okay.
I doubt. It's a very suspicious move.
Now
But
knight
then,
f1, knight f1.
So I still don't believe it's a good idea. So let's say this. King h2 or king h1?
King e2. King, no, I think I should have king h2. Yeah.
Let's do this. Rook moves.
Yeah, I can move rook, no problem. Yes.
Yes, and then I can do this. Pawn takes to not lose a pawn. Then I invade your camp. Then I'm threatening with this and this. So it seems like it's a disaster. You can try
No,
rook
no,
e2.
but rook e2, yeah. Queen e2.
Just a sec, let me think. This is coming.
Okay, rook c1.
You cannot.
Sorry, bishop c1.
You still
bishop
cannot.
c1. I can't come. Okay, I can't come to bishop c1. Okay.
So you can only play h4.
No, even I can move king to g1, moving the pin out.
King h1.
King
Okay.
king h1. Yeah.
h5.
Queen e2. Queen d1.
Queen d1. Queen f2.
No problem.
So there are problems. So you have to play the only moves then.
Yeah.
So I think that this is definitely winning. So which move should I play in this position? Let's decide. Rook c2, no. G5, yes. G5 looks like a move. Yeah, G5, G4, and then I can try
No,
to...
G5 bishop c1.
But that's okay, you can take it.
Bishop c1.
Okay, let me think.
No, even bishop c1 is winning for black. How? If bishop c1, bishop into c1, you can't take with queen. You have to take it with knight, and then rook invades at rook c2.
Yeah, but the rook can also take.
Yeah, rook can also take. Yeah, rook can also take. But I think there was some problem with rook. No. Yeah, rook can also take. Yes.
Maybe G5,
But
bishop c1.
even if rook takes, then rook into rook.
Oh, let's just play like that.
But then you don't have pieces left.
Oh, well, I'm threatening to take on f3 or h3, which is already a problem.
Takes
With which piece?
f3, f3 into g4. Okay,
Knight
then
f4, queen g4.
yeah, knight f4.
Yeah, that can be a problem. I missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't work. So if so, then g5 is slow. Okay, so let's just do this move. So you play there, and then bring my knight. And then I will prepare this.
But then takes.
Which piece start?
First, knight into knight.
Knight to knight. Okay, so then pawn.
Okay, pawn. Then now three.
Then I will
Now,
advance here. So I think I missed something because
but
so here
now
it
I'll
was
put my
definitely
queen.
open. No, then
Okay.
you can activate your queen, so you are still losing, but I think there were better chances in this position. So
Maybe I just thought of putting f3 because
this
just to give some challenge
no
to black.
f3 is it was knight f4 maybe better. Maybe knight f4, maybe knight f4 was better actually. So this king, what, h2? So I played bishop g5, but maybe knight f4 should be played with invasion here. I don't know even what to suggest because this move doesn't work. Now this is how black seems to be winning. Okay, anyway, so f3 isn't a good idea. It weakens too many dark squares, and your dark squared bishop is further from the place of action, while this dark squared bishop can be here, here, and even here, and the queen can join the enemy camp using the light squares. Okay, so there is what? Bishop f1 idea. It seems very well. Bishop f1, bishop g5 then. And at some point I want to take here. Anyway, well, this is okay. So you want to continue with the analysis. Fine. So bishop f1, bishop g5, knight f3, take. There is no compensation. You can take one there, but my pieces are already closer to the place of action. It's losing. Take on d6. Okay, take on d6. Then I take on c2, and on the next move I take there or there. Well, you can play bishop e3, but it still seems to be losing. How can I play? I have this move, I have that move. I have queen f3 directly. It's a pleasant choice. But to be honest, I don't know what is better. G5 maybe is better. Knight G5 is better. So take, I don't know, Queen E5, Queen F3. Bishop G2, Queen A7. No, it's extra exchange. The king is safe. There is not much to talk about. Okay, so knight e2 was played. It's not a very good move at all. So bishop g5, knight goes to c3, and the knight goes to d4. Black improves their position, and even f5 becomes a threat. And here it seems white doesn't understand what's going on. So white plays knight cb1. Maybe to use the c pawn, maybe to open the bishop and take on d4. What they could try was still this, then knight takes, pawn takes, and then maybe a5. So a4, just take there, take here, or maybe some invasion in the future. Even bishop d2, knight b3 becomes already a threat. But if so, I don't want to sacrifice on h6. So here I would first do prophylaxis and then continue with the same strategy. This time I would prefer to save the pawn. So, but knight cb1 was played in the game. So, your opinion, how black should continue in this position? White pieces are really passive. Their position is crowded, but at the same time, we cannot say that their king is too weak because the king has a lot of squares to escape. So, there is no smothered mate. Now, let's decide how to play. Knight d3 and knight b3. But you cannot take on b3.
What about knight takes on d4?
What do you mean? So knight d3, how they play? The rook is hanging, so they have to take. But now knight b3 fails because they take on b3 and protect on c1. Right? So they have enough defenders. So if you take there, then they replace one knight with the other knight. So knight d3 works, but here you'd better take first and then just invade the enemy camp. That would work. F5 is a good idea, but instead of f5, there is a similar move which is a little better. Why can't they take with the queen? Because there is a rook on the c file. Bishop c6 trying to bring the bishop. Okay, there is a better move to activate this bishop. Okay, knight d3, this, why they don't take with the queen? They take with the bishop because there is a queen, there is another rook. Yes, the move is d5 just. So opening the position, it's better than f5 because it doesn't create weaknesses, but it still opens the bishop. So now they cannot defend it. I don't think f3 is a good move, but such a move was played later anyway. So take knight d3 first, bishop takes, rook takes, bishop takes, and finally bishop d5, attacking g2. So this creates many weaknesses on the light squares. I even think that it loses immediately. I wonder about this move because the knight is pinned. And if f3 it was played in, it could be, yeah, f3 can be played in this position, but then it seems to me that bishop f3 is sufficient because knight takes and rook c1 is coming. And then knight f3 with a check. So should be winning. That's why here they play f3. Your turn. Okay, so Brian suggests queen e7. I think it's a good move, but is it the best move? The king goes to h1, let's say. Knight c2. And then knight a3. The e5 pawn is vulnerable. So rook c2. Yeah, rook c2 first, then queen e7. And after this move, it's a Zugzwang, how to play, because every move loses something. So for example, rook e5, queen a7. Even if not queen e7, queen c6, attacking this. And how do they defend it? If they protect it, you can take.
I was talking about queen c6 on the first move itself, before making any move. When we made rook to c2,
Queen c6, but
queen
then they
c6.
can move the bishop at least and take here. So with rook c2, you paralyze the bishop.
Yes. Okay.
And pin the knight, because if they move the knight, you just take there instantly. So
Okay.
Okay. Maybe before that, it's also possible. Can you move the figures back before the yes, like this? Maybe also knight. What is it? B3 could be a possibility.
Knight b3 winning the pawn, but you win the pawn only. So knight.
Yes, okay, but if the knight takes, then we can
That bishop.
We can kill the bishop on
c1, but you still are only a pawn up. Look.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
just one
okay,
pawn.
yeah.
So queen c6 wins a piece, but rook c2, then rook e5, and queen c6 wins the piece. Maybe queen e7 works even better, because if they take there, it's checkmate with queen g2, let's say. So maybe they don't they play something else, but how? Let's say king h1. Then what to play? This looks like a double attack, but then rook e8 or rook e1 can be played.
Rook e1 will be wrong, na?
Rook e1.
Rook e1 will be wrong, na? Rook into c1. Okay. You have moved the king. Okay. You have moved the king earlier.
Yes.
I thought king is still at g8.
Yeah, that's
because
why
then it will be knight
probably
fork.
queen c6 is just better because they lose it. Okay, so the game continued with a4, b4, and it still is Zugzwang. They played this move and now queen c6. And again, this is where they resigned because they just didn't know what to play. Do you have any ideas which move to suggest? Because it seems that, well, king g1, then rook c1. King h2, then bishop f4. What to suggest? Knight b3 is a threat already. Knight b3, bishop b3. Actually, maybe if king h2, then knight b3 is a better move. This is vulnerable, so they have to take, you take, and you threaten with this. What other move to suggest? Let me see what the engine suggests. Okay, the engine suggests the best move is king g1, but we know it fails because of rook c1. Okay, a5, again, just bishop f4, and the moves are over. So in such a position with a lot of pieces on the board, white is already in the Zugzwang. Every move they play loses something. The bishop can also come here, for example. Or the knight can come there and there, because this is still pinned. So they cannot cover g3. Okay, so let's do a quick summary of this game. So what did happen in this game? That was just a normal Sicilian position, but starting from this moment, white was playing awkwardly. They played knight b1 instead of just occupying this square and then capturing with the pawn. Black didn't know exactly what to do, but at least tried to improve his pieces. So the queen adds pressure on e4. The knight is remaneuvering to the e6 square, after which the rook can add more pressure on c2. This knight goes to c5 to capture there and potentially attack c2 or just invade c2. Any counterattack on the king side was parried, so that's why white started making serious mistakes like 92. Their position was crowded. They didn't improve it. And black did improve by playing bishop g5. They created a pin. The next move was knight d4. The knight attacks a lot of squares in the enemy camp. And b4 probably was the last chance for them to try to equalize the position. However, even after b4, it's really bad. But they played knight cb1, putting the knight back, probably just to defend on d2. And as the result of such a poor placement, black decided to open the position with d5 and add pressure to the king's position, as well as take advantage of this pin and capture on d3. So pawn takes, knight takes d3. There was a rook trade, bishop d5 attacking g2. So f3 is a must. And after the rook's invasion, the position is on a Zugzwang. So any move means the game is over, including rook e5, which would fail because of queen c6. Now, if the rook goes back to defend, there is this combination. This is typically what happens if your opponent plays passively. You improve your pieces, and at a certain moment of the game, you will find a tactical combination. It's just an internal logic of chess. Fine.
Was there any probability of playing rook f1 and then playing f4 when black played bishop g5?
So here, no, not yet.
Not yet. When knight was at e2. Yeah, here.
Is it hanging? So that's why knight c3 was played. Knight e4 just here.
But, okay.
No, there was no chance to play like that.
Okay.
Fine. The next example. The game between Efim Bogolyubov and Alexander Alekhine. Well, black to move. Which move would you suggest? There are a lot of options, and black is clearly better, but there is one special plan that guarantees a winning position. White pieces again are poorly placed. Two knights here, the bishop. The rook is not really doing much. However, for now, they control the A file. Mhm. So b4 is a candidate move. I think that's right. b4 should be played. It breaks the connection. Breaks, yeah, the communication among pieces. Okay, this, right. Then what they can play? In the game, they took, and we are going to analyze it. The only other option is this, queen e1. After which, what you should do is just to invade the enemy camp, and then you take advantage of a passed pawn. So knight b3, because if they take, you can invade the enemy camp instantly. So this move, queen a5, knight a5, well, rook a8 is good, but then it leads to rook a2, which is still fine. You can continue with b3. There was queen h5 also, I agree, but that move wasn't well, black still had advantage after that. We will discuss it a little later. Bishop a4 instead, attacking this knight. And now, after knight b2, rook e8. So if they take there, you take here. And still invade the enemy camp. And if, let's say, knight b7, what do you think? How to play? Knight g4 in this position or what? Knight g4, they can do what? Can they take on d3? Maybe there is a better move. You have this passed pawn. So let's focus on it. There is a knight that blocks it, and if you trade knights, there will be rook blocking the b pawn. Bishop c6, maybe just knight c5 works. Okay, so there is a nice suggestion of this move. Rook takes, then you play rook a1. And if king g2, it's knight a1, you win the rook. But in this position, it's possible to continue with king h2, but then knight g4, and the still king goes there, and knight, actually knight e3 this time. So bishop c2, look at this move. The bishop becomes poisoned. Capturing there doesn't make much sense, because if so, you deliver it. No, you take first. You take here first, and then you threaten with rook a1 and knight g4, or knight g4 first, then rook a1. And this is a pass pawn, and this is also a pass pawn that nobody can stop. Well, because the bishop is blocked, there is no discovered attack. Even if they take there, the c pawn is very close to Aquinian square. That's why even if they take your rook, it doesn't work. So bishop c2 was a super move. Okay, let's go back. Let's discuss queen h5. So queen h5. If g4, f takes g4, knight f1, and g3 still works. It's hard to suggest a move then. Okay, so maybe knight f2 in this position. How would you continue? Because this move or what? Well, this move might maybe just take on d3. Knight e1. So knight e4, knight g2, knight f6, rook f6, bishop. No, 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 no. Rook f6 is a blunder. So pawn
Because
takes.
rook a1, rook a8 is hanging.
Yeah. So actually, you may play queen h5, but if you then combine this idea with the b4 move, and then you can invade the enemy camp. When the queen is not here, everything is hanging. So they may try to make a discovered attack, like knight d3, for example. However, then there is a check on e3. Then you take, and you can also continue with this move. So it should be winning. Actually, if king f1, I think you'd better take with the queen. So this move, then, well, queen g3. It's anyway winning. So, but a lot depends on b4. So queen h5 with the idea of b4 works well. Fine. Okay, so b4 was played, and they took on e8. And this is where there is nothing wrong with this. Queen b3, queen a1. This is definitely winning position. But if that was played, black would win, and this game wouldn't be so interesting for us. In the game, black decided to take on c3. The rook is hanging, so rook takes queen. And now your turn. What do you think in this position Alexander Alekhine had in mind? Right, so it's c2. And when you play c2, you threaten to promote with two ways, by advancing the pawn further or by capturing the knight. And if there is no piece or only one, for example, that can cover both squares, then you promote. This is exactly what happened in the game. So this king moves, then they save the knight, and you can promote. Well, this seems to be a blunder. So king h2, I think, loses. You just take on d2. So that's why they played the knight f1, defending their position. In fact, well, if you look at the board and compare material, they have two rooks and the pawn to compensate the queen. Usually it's sufficient, but because the position of the king is crowded, you can play knight e1. Rook comes to h2 and queen c4. No, knight f3 doesn't work. Let's keep this bishop bad. And what do you think then black wants? So let's say rook b8, your turn. Bishop b5, right. Bishop b5. And if knight e2, it's queen c1. Attacking here, so rook takes. Knight f3 double check, king moves queen g1, king moves queen h2 mate. Like that. So what else to play? Bishop g2? What about bishop g2? What's your opinion? Knight g2, but knight g2, maybe they take on b5 after that. Well, yeah, knight g2 may work. Knight f3 also works. If they take, queen f1 is mate. If they play this move, then just let's save the bishop because the rook is trapped. So the rook can move. How can we play? Well, I like queen e2 move, let's say, threatening two pieces. This knight just cannot move. Okay, fine. So knight f3 check. Okay, thanks. So rook b5 was played. Queen b5, g4, and then knight f3. And a few moves they resigned. Here, there is no material to compensate. Queen e2 was played. So this pawn is dangerous. Well, actually, they resigned a little later, but it's already a winning position. At least you can do this and then take. If e4, you take on f4. Okay, let's do a quick summary. So what did happen in this position? In this game, black had a better pieces placement. Look at white pieces. They are not really doing much. However, they control the A file. And on the one hand, well, trying to invade the enemy camp through h5 works. But then the key idea is to still invade the enemy camp through the A file. That's why black decides to start with this idea right away. And with b4, they break the connection. So if queen a1, it's possible just to trade and to offer a trade of queens and still invade the enemy camp. That's why white took on e8. It's fine to capture on e8 with the queen and still continue playing it, but black decided to play aggressively. They took their queen, sacrifices their own queen on e8, but after c2, they promote the pawn to the queen anyway. So finally, in this position, after a promotion, white seemed to have enough material compensation for the queen. But their position is crowded and their pieces are bad. So knight is pinned, the rook is trapped, the bishop is trapped. And this is what black took advantage of by maneuvering their knight to e3, f3, and bringing the bishop to the attack with bishop b5, after which they had to sacrifice material, and now there is no full compensation for the queen, and because of that, white is completely losing. This is what happened in the game, and soon white resigned. Okay, fine. This is our last example. Actually, a very nice example with a very nice checkmate at the end. However, before we continue with this, I would like you to know that if you enjoy this content, you can support me by sending a donation using this button. For example, if you have PayPal, let me copy the link. How it works, you just click the button, then you enter the amount that you want to donate. Any amount is acceptable. Then you click PayPal, it redirects you to your PayPal account, you enter it, and then this is how you can send money directly to me. The second way is just to use Wise. So using this link, especially, it works especially for Europeans. Well, actually, it works for Americans too, but most Europeans usually have Wise. Fine. Let's continue with our main topic. We have one more game to review. Okay, this position. Well, I'm sure here you can come up with a move. Well, here black is a pawn down already. This is a dangerous pawn on d6, but how dangerous is it? I don't think they can go d7, and on d8 we definitely control it. The bishop is bad, our pieces are slightly better, so can you please guess which move we should play here? I'm sure Brian knows what to play here. I'm 100% that if Brian was playing this game for black, he would play this exact move. Okay, so the obvious one, okay, so the suggestions are b5 and take, and queen d6. Fine, what else? Yeah, I think this move allows us to equalize. For sure. b5 is interesting. I don't know how it works. Probably not well, because after knight e5 the pawn is still protected. Bishop d5? Bishop d5, I don't see the point. What for? Can they play e4? No, I was talking about knight g4 move. So this is a typical move that you usually do in your games. Like knight g5, knight g4. Why? Threatening with queen h4. Who can tell me what black prepared against this? h3. Is it
Knight
bishop?
f7?
Knight f2, you mean? Yes, it's knight
Sorry,
f2.
knight f2. Sorry, knight
Yeah.
f2.
Yeah. So knight f2, king f2, queen here. Then
Queen
you take
h4, yeah.
you
Take
take
with the
there,
knight.
or
Yes.
you can take with a queen if you want. I would prefer to keep queens on the board because with bishops of opposite color, you can potentially attack the king,
And
and
problem is
oh, they have to play g3. So that's yes, and then you have to take with a queen. I don't think there
yes,
is a mate. Because if they do anything else, it's definitely a blunder. If they move their king to
yeah,
g1, they lose a rook. So g3 is a
yes.
must. Well, queen f6, then you cannot take the knight. So let's take the knight right away. Or maybe this, actually. Because after this, it's this. And these pawns are doubled. And d6 is lost. Because to not lose this pawn, they have to play that. But then they lose this pawn. Well, not sure. Maybe they lose it.
F5.
No,
F5,
simple is
F5.
f6. Simple is f6 and then rook d8.
But there is bishop f4, so I wonder if we can start with this move. Then, because e5 now, oh, it doesn't fail because there is a promotion. Okay. Yeah, maybe just f6 to stop it.
Just f6 and then taking the pawn.
You cannot take it. There is bishop f4 and you don't win it. But yeah, probably it's a drawish position anyway. Okay, fine. So taking, I don't think there is a difference. Let's quickly go over these lines. c4, so queen moves, and then knight d5, and you threaten to take it. And f4, because now bishop g5 is coming, or bishop f4 and rook d1. No, the b5 isn't a good move. Okay, so knight g4 was played, and probably they have to defend it with queen e2. If bishop c4, it's queen g4. And if queen h4, then h3, and knight f2 works. But then the position is even, e4, and it's almost the same that we already analyzed. So, but in the game it was rook e2, and this is a bit artificial move. It's not so natural. They protect on f2, but can we take advantage of that? How would you proceed here? Well, I don't think this is a good move actually. So they have to play h3. You can continue with knight f2. Then rook takes f2. Okay, let's check it out. So this, well, this is a must. Knight f2 attacking the queen. Then bishop c4 is coming. So rook takes, bishop c4. Queen f5. Oh, well, the d pawn exists. So that seems like a problem. Okay, so queen h4 still works, but there is a better move. You can win a pawn, but keep the queens on the board and neutralize. Well, how can you neutralize the pawn on d6? So yes, you can do bishop c4, and you don't have knight e5. Queen c4, queen d6 immediately, because if queen g4, there is a back rank mate. So
But
that,
isn't queen d7 working there?
which queen d7?
Just go back after queen rook e2, queen d7.
What for?
What will you do? Queen b5.
With queen b5 idea.
Yes.
Okay, so what can I do instead? Well, let's stick to it. So queen b5. Now the knight moves. So you can take, probably it's the best move, because what else?
Yes.
Your queen is hanging, and your knight is hanging. So knight takes, then if the knight moves, I'm still a pawn up, but maybe you can try this move. However, I don't see how it works. So take, c4.
d4.
Seems like a drawish position. Okay. Then maybe in this position, just this. There is no c4. The knight has to move, and then it's knight e5. White is better.
No, no, but taking knight and then putting knight e5
But
and then rook d8.
you're a pawn down, and I'm not sure if you can save it, and maybe c5 is a weakness in that scenario. So bishop c4 right away, and then queen d6 threatening back rank mate. That's why they have to play g3. But g3 already tells you that f3 is a weak. And let's take advantage of it by playing this move. Because queen d1 can win a rook, they have to move their queen and protect it. So queen b5, a6, queen b2, or queen a2 directly, like it was played in the game. Queen g6, taking advantage of the weakness of the light squares. For example, if let's say this move, knight f3 and king g2, you can continue with this. If the king goes somewhere else, you can just win a pawn. For example, king f2, you take the pawn. If he goes there, then it's queen e4 with a discovered attack. For example, this, double check, the king moves, and then you just move it here, support, and dominate in this position. So that's why after queen g6, they took a proper decision to play e4 to control light squares and let the bishop out. Rook a d8, bishop f4. Knight f3 check, this, and queen defends. Well, h3 fails. Oh, well, actually, h3 was played, knight h4, and in this position, they have to move their king back to g1. But if they move to g1, you can just move your queen here, threatening mate. And if they take there, you take here. And black is playing for a win. So white has some defensive resources, but maybe they lose a pawn on e4 then. But they played king h2. So your turn. How to continue? Yeah, you can still do queen f3. And the best way was to take on h4, after which you take the bishop and continue your attack. But the game continued with rook g1, and this is where I want you to focus and suggest how exactly black won that game. Again, their pieces are surrounding the king. The king has no squares to escape, and we can take advantage of that. So, your turn. Okay, so rook d3 suggested by Alan to bring our friends to the party.
But rook d1.
So in my opinion, rook d1 works, but let's see. So rook d1, then rook e3, for example. Does it work? The f2 is still protected. Actually, it still works. How does how in this position black wins? Well, then why it works? That's fine. We are going to continue with your line a little later.
Why can't rook? Why doesn't the rook then just take the knight? Doesn't that knight f3, rook f3, and
Well, in this position, yes. In this position, you have. Oh, you were talking about this position. I thought you were talking about the previous. No, 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 no. You are talking about this exact position. Okay, I realized it. Yeah, now queen g2 fails. But there is a simple move. It's just rook takes g1, like Georgios suggested. So, and then what? So if they take, it's easy checkmate. If they take there, then this is checkmate.
Yes.
So rook d1 works, but that wasn't the most forced way to deliver checkmate. After rook d1, you have to calculate other lines, like what happens if they take. Of course, it's not difficult, but the simplest was just queen g2 right away. Rook takes g2, knight f3, king moves, and then rook d1. There is not much to analyze.
Reverse order. Reverse order.
Yeah, okay. So with this move order, black delivers an Arabian checkmate by making moves with checks only. So that's why it's much easier to calculate. Queen g2, knight f3, and rook d1. That was a result of the poor pieces placement, passive position, and the weakness of the king. Okay, fine. Let's do a quick summary. So in this approximately equal position, black is down a pawn. He can always win it back with... Okay, once again. So in this position, black is down a pawn, and he can always win it back with bishop for a knight trade and queen d6, but he decided to complicate the position, starting with knight g4, having in mind this or that move with queen h4 and winning the knight. White decided to defend the f2 with rook e2 move, after which bishop c4, queen c4, and queen d6, threatening back rank mate and checkmate on h2. That provoked g3. And because of g3, the light squares are weak. After a few moves, black managed to get the control over the light squares with their queen and knight, and then invaded the enemy camp with their queen. The best way for white was just to give up the bishop for a knight and then maybe lose several pawns more, but it still was playable. However, they played rook g1 to cover this and missed a very nice tactical opportunity with queen g2, knight f3, and then a rook check, which led to checkmate. Okay, fine. So what I want you to remember from today's workshop is that, well, even if your opponent didn't surround his king, if he didn't make his position cramped, if his pieces are not crowded on a certain part of the board, try to improve your position step by step, improve your pieces. If he doesn't have active plan, this is what you should do. And at a certain moment, you will realize that your opponent doesn't have space, you have it, and you will obtain tactical opportunities. For example, in all these games, well, here knight g4 helped us. In the second game that we were analyzing, there was d5 move, which opened the position and allowed our pieces to create several attacks. In this position, it was mainly b4 that broke the connection and could allow us to invade the enemy camp or promote the c pawn. Okay, fine. Do you have any questions? If not, let's finish for today. So see everyone on our next workshop next Sunday. And on Friday, we have a group class. So those of you who are enrolled, don't forget about it. We have like how many? 4 sessions left there. Okay, so thank you for coming and see you next Sunday. Bye-bye.